levels between 1 and 2 millimeters a year. And since 1992, the rate has increased to about 3 millimeters a year, primarily through thermal expansion of warming oceans and fresh water flowing into the oceans from melting ice. And as we know, melting ice is responsible for a significant portion of the observed sea level rise, which you mentioned. So all of these are connected. But if I may also mention, Mr. President, I was with some balikbayans recently, and they said they could not swim in the coastal waters or near the waters in the basin of Boracay because of the algae.
Yes, that's correct, Mr.
So they had to take a boat and swim outwards.
It is completely green.
Yes, but when they tried to swim in the middle of the ocean and swim to the shore, all they had to do, all they could do was to ward off the bottles of cans and bottles which were all around the water. So it is a desecration of one of the jewels of our country, not just of Philippine tourism, of our natural wonders.
I agree, Mr.
What
President.
has happened at Boracay is truly sad. It is it's an understatement. It makes me angry, Mr. President.
As mentioned by our minority floor leader, which I totally agree, it's tragic.
It's tragic.
It used to be pristine, beautiful, a quaint little island resort that people can visit and have a nice, quiet time with the family. Now, it is like a hodgepodge of buildings, stores, malls.
With no efficient sewage system, Mr. President.
That's correct, Mr.
And
President.
they blatantly violate RA 9003, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, by just throwing away cans and garbage and bottles and plastics everywhere with no regard for the implementation of environmental laws.
That's correct, Mr. President. Well, that probably would be a topic for another speech or another resolution one day, because I know just the problem of Boracay and many resorts in the country that are being overly developed. Yes, and developed without proper zoning and planning would really end up with such tragic effects. But earlier during the interpellation, I had overheard the questions or line of questioning of Senator Biazon. I may have to stand up one day and discuss the implementation of the biofuels law to actually shed light on several issues on the implementation of the biofuels law, because basically we have to differentiate, Mr. President, the two renewable energy measures. One is renewable fuels and one is renewable energy. Those are apples and oranges. Renewable fuel is tasked to power our vehicles, or at least fuel the vehicles. Renewable energy is tasked to light up our energy needs, or our lights at home, our industries, and power our industries. When we discuss renewable fuels, it is completely different from renewable energy. So when one says, no, I am for renewable energy, why instead of biofuels you should go solar, we should go wind? That's correct, Mr. President. We could go solar and wind, but that is to light these lights up. This is to energize our lights, to power our air conditioning. We still have yet to discover an alternative, or we still have yet to implement an alternative for these 56 pesos per liter gasoline now. Which, by the way, Mr. President, I had forewarned in one of our speeches. Here, I said the price would go up to 60 pesos. It was at 44 then. It is now close to that figure, Mr. President. So, would the sponsor agree with me, Mr. President, that really we also have to look and look for alternative fuel sources to run our transport industry, or at least to transport people to and fro their different localities?
Definitely, Mr. President, there is no choice because of the rising prices of fuel.
But I'm sure the sponsor, Mr. President, would agree with me that done properly, we should not eat into our food supply program. And I'd like to make this announcement that we have been meeting for the last 5 weeks, Mr. President, with the different NBB proponents, National Biofuels Board proponents, crafting the necessary implementing rules and regulations.
And safety nets.
And
perhaps,
safety nets,
yes.
Mr. President. And one of them, one chapter there, a whole section, is on the ban of the
conversion of agricultural lands.
Conversion of agricultural lands to biofuel feedstock. In other words, there's a ban on irrigated rice fields for use of biofuels. There's a ban on what you call the areas already, alluvial plains that already been planted, are being planted by food sources or food stocks for biofuels. Also, there's a ban on the utilization of cereals. I think this is the most important, Mr. President. There's a ban on the use of cereals for biofuels. So we will not follow the example of the United States, where they're using feed corn, which is actually raising the prices of poultry, pig, pork, and cattle prices all over the world, the beef prices. We have banned the use of corn, wheat, and other cereals that can be utilized for food for the production of biofuels. The production will be limited to sugarcane, of which we have an excess supply, as well as coconut and jatropha, which we are also of abundant supply. Well, jatropha to be utilized only, and it's specific, jatropha planted only in cogonal mountain lands.
I'm glad you mentioned
over
that.
18 degrees.
I was going to ask you, jatropha, Mr. President, Your Honor, can be planted on marginal and unutilized land.
That's correct, Mr. President.
We've, I think, 4 million marginal land.
4 million hectares, yes.
4 million hectares of marginal land, which is government-owned, public
yes,
property.
Mr. President. That's correct, Mr. President.
So it doesn't have to be and/or, food or fuel.
We can do both,
Yes, we
Mr.
can do
President.
both. And the sources of biofuel, like jatropha, can be planted on unutilized marginal
Correct,
public
Mr.
land.
President. I wish I had the picture with me. I was in a jatropha farm in the hinterlands of Mindanao, particularly Misamis Oriental, where me and Senator Pimentel are from. It's an 11-month-old tree, and you should see the size of the tree. It's about 12.
Fast-growing.
Fast-growing. And this is one question Senator Biason had asked was about the reforestation program of government. The reason, Mr. President, why the reforestation of our country has been a failure is because once the trees, lawaan and all these hardwood species, would grow up to 2 years old, they are chopped up by the lowland communities utilizing the wood for uling, panggatong. This is a fuel for their stoves, for the production of of course to produce food and cook their food, and that's why we've had a very low success rate in our reforestation program. Here we have a chance, Mr. President, to produce a tree or to plant a tree, which the people will not cut because they say the proverbial golden egg is actually the seed. And they will not kill the goose that lays the golden egg, ika nga. And that is, they will not cut the tree because really the seeds can be utilized for cooking. And I have samples of the seeds in my office, and unfortunately I wasn't able to bring some down, including the biodiesel produced by jatropha. Mr. President, for the information of this body, jatropha can produce 3 kilos of seeds, jatropha seeds, can produce 1 liter of biodiesel. 1 liter of pure B100 biodiesel. And this biodiesel can run tractors, can run generators, can run pumps. It can run...
1 liter, say it again, 1
yes,
liter of biodiesel
3 kilos.
from 3 kilos of jatropha seeds.
Seeds. And in
how
1 year's
many
time...
hectares, Mr. President, will the seeds come from? 1 hectare, how
1
many square
hectare
meters?
is about 2,500 trees. That's about a 2 by 2, that's 2 meters by 2 meters.
How many seeds will this produce?
At 1 year old, a 1 year old jatropha tree or jatropha shrub can produce about 9 kilos of seeds. So you can produce 3 liters of biodiesel per tree.
Hectare.
Times, no, per tree.
Per tree.
Mr. President, times 2,500.
And this can grow on marginal land,
Marginal
Mr.
land, Mr. President.
Sloping.
That's correct, Mr. President.
Interesting. I suggest, Mr. President, that you deliver a speech to educate all of us here.
Yes, Mr.
And to
President.
disabuse the minds of many, because of many, not only statements of colleagues in the chamber, but also articles which have
Yes, Mr. President.
pitted food production vis-a-vis biofuels.
Yes,
I
Mr.
think
President.
it is high time that you, as a known author, the legislator who shepherded this important measure when you were still in the lower house, should explain.
Yes,
And this
Mr.
would be an
President.
interesting subject of debate on this chamber.
With the permission of Senator Kiko Pangilinan, probably our Majority Floor Leader, probably Monday, I will deliver a privileged speech on the benefits of biofuels vis-a-vis food security program, to explain to the public really that we can do both, Mr. President.
It would be interesting for you to counter each and every allegation against biofuel and to educate us on how it can be done, as you said, without affecting productivity in food.
So with that, because I don't want to delay, I'm sure the lady's tired. She's been standing for 2 hours in the
Mr.
fight
President,
for
if Senator
change.
Enrile, who is 30 years older than me, can stand for 8 to 10 hours, there is no reason for me not to stand longer than him.
I thought he was, Mr. President, 50 years older than you.
But he is Superman.
Yes, yes. But yes, I'd just like to point out a last few issues that was raised earlier. Now, it was asked by one of our senator colleagues about that the reason we have we're only 1%. We only contribute probably